Hi, my name is Tony Kramer, owner and inventor of PAK-IT-LITE hammocks. Now in this video I just wanted to talk about my full line of hammocks, explain some of the differences, and answer some questions as well as dispel some common misconceptions about my hammocks. Now when I created my hammocks I wanted something that would be a good crossover from tent camping into hammock camping. Any tent camper can go right into my hammocks without having to buy all new stuff like a new sleeping bag. If you've got a sleeping bag, a camp pad, that will work with my hammocks and it'll take you all the way through the 4-season hammocks. Now my hammocks range from 2-season all the way up to 4-season. I'll explain that a little bit later. But first what I want to do is I want to talk about the design of my hammock, why it hangs the way it does, and achieve the lay flat, the patented lay flat design. Well, ever since the dawn of time, man has been trying to come up with a more comfortable hammock. There's a lot of innovative ideas out there, a lot of really cool designs, but primarily what you're going to find out on the market are hammocks that are made out of a rectangular sheet of fabric. That's pretty standard. Now, that rectangular sheet can maintain its shape by putting in stays at both ends. I'm sure you've seen hammocks that have wooden stays on each end. Or you can take the fabric and you can bunch it up at each end and hang it between two trees, get the proper sag of the hammock. Either way, the whole idea behind this is to have a hammock that you can lay on the diagonal. When you're laying across the support axis, now the support axis is going from end to end, from tree to tree. When you're laying across that axis, that gives you a little bit more natural sleeping plane, a slightly flatter area that you can sleep in. Now, common sense just tells you that if you take a hammock, you bunch it up at the ends and you hang it between two trees and you get it to sag in its signature U shape, the flattest part of the hammock, of course, is going to be across the width here. Laying with your head on one side and your feet on the other side. The problem with that is your upper torso weighs more than your legs, so at some point during the night you're going to come flipping out of the hammock. So the concept of a hammock in which you lay on the diagonal is pretty standard, and that's the most comfortable hammocks you'll find out there. This is also a reason why most hammocks are over 11 feet long. Up to 16 feet, maybe even longer, 60 inches wide, maybe even a little bit wider. The longer the hammock, the wider the hammock, the more area that you're going to have on the diagonal and be able to find that natural position in the hammock, a little bit flatter plane that you can lay in. But there is an inherent problem to this, and that problem lies in the fabric itself. You see, the fabric of all hammocks is made of a weave. Now that weave is like a grid pattern, and that weave runs the length of the fabric and the width of the fabric. So when I take the fabric and I try to stretch it lengthwise, there's very little stretch. The same when I try to stretch it across the width, there's very little stretch. But when I stretch it on what's called the bias of the weave actually opens up and we have a lot more stretch to it. So when you're laying in a hammock like this and you're laying on the diagonal, what's happening? Your body weight is laying on that bias. So the fabric stretches underneath your body weight. Even though you're laying in a slightly flatter plane, it's still going to cause your body to sag a little bit more, mainly bending at the hips. So what my patented design did is I took into consideration that stretch. So on the opposite diagonal, I took up that bias. I made it stretch out a little bit more. Now that did a couple of things. First, it creates a ridge, as you can see, which is directly up underneath your back and your hips. It also creates two pockets, one at the feet and one at the head. Now the foot pocket I made a little bit deeper, only because your legs are lighter than your upper torso. Your upper torso is going to push more on the fabric than your legs will. So once you lay in the hammock and your body weight is introduced to that ridge, it pushes that ridge down, and now you're laying more in line, your upper torso is more in line with your legs. This is one of the reasons why my hammocks have a signature hang to it. when you hang my hammock between two trees, immediately you'll see that ridge that forms, and you'll also see down at the bottom of the hammock it forms kind of a W shape. This is also another reason why my hammocks are only 8.5 feet long. They're 8.5 feet long because I've taken up the bias, but they're still over 11 feet on the diagonal. And this is why someone that is 6'1", 6'2", up to probably 6'8", 6'9", can still lay in my hammock very comfortably and have plenty of space. Now, I've never had anybody over 7 feet lay in my hammocks, but then I've really never met a 7-foot basketball player that's into backpacking either. Maybe one of these days. Well, once you decide on a PAK-IT-LITE hammock, you need to decide on the weight of the hammock. You've got to make that choice if you want a lighter hammock. I have ultralight hammocks. I have very, very small hammocks. Or you can choose a slightly heavier hammock. You also need to choose your hammock based on the seasons that you're going to be using the hammock in. So let me talk a little bit more about that. When choosing a hammock, base your choice on what time of year you plan on using it. A 2-season hammock will take you through 2 of the warmest seasons of the year, spring and summer. A 3-season hammock will take you through spring to fall, and a 4-season hammock can be used any time of year, spring through winter. Now, the Lightfoot Scout is our 2-season hammock, in that it does not have a top enclosure to trap body heat, nor does it have a bed liner to hold the closed-cell foam pad that's found in all of the other PAK-IT-LITE hammocks. Now, this is a great hammock for backyard camping and relaxing, as well as backpacking trips during the spring and summer. It can also be outfitted with a screen netting for bugs and an underquilt if you want to push it into colder temperatures. But by itself, it's considered a 2-season hammock. Now, the Scout is still a 2-season hammock in that it does not have a top enclosure to trap body heat, but it does have the signature bed pocket to hold a closed-cell foam pad and, of course, the side pockets to hold clothing for added insulation. So I consider the Scout more of a hybrid 2 to 3-season hammock. The Recon MN just means mosquito netting, is our 3-season hammock. Now, this is the perfect hammock for spring, summer, and fall backpacking as well as camping. The no-seam netting allows for a great bug-free stargazing on crisp, clear nights. Now, even though the hammock's top enclosure is made of netting, it's surprising how much heat can be radiated back into the hammock when the rainfly is staked closer to the top enclosure. Now, the Recon has been used in temperatures into the mid-20s and was surprisingly warm. Of course, this was using a good quality sleeping bag rated for those temperatures and a good quality closed-cell foam pad. The FOB, or Fixed Operating Bivy, is our top seller and the flagship of all other PAK-IT-LITE hammocks. This is our 4-season hammock. The solid breathable top enclosure retains body heat. So with a good quality sleeping bag and just a good quality closed-cell foam pad, this hammock can take you into single-digit temperatures and has been tested into temperatures well below 0. The door system has a breathable zip-up flap to keep body heat in and a net door that allows ventilation when the window flap is zipped down. And like the Recon and Scout, the FOB has 3 internal pockets, one to hold your closed-cell foam pad, and 2 on each side that will hold clothing for additional insulation and storage. So you should have a better idea of how PAK-IT-LITE hammocks work and how to choose your hammock based on seasonal usage. But there's one more thing to take into consideration, and that is hammock weight versus durability and load limit. Now, all of my hammocks come in 2 different versions. There is the standard version and the ultralight version. The ultralight version is half the pack size and half the weight of the standard version. But the standard version is made out of a Taslin nylon. And now this is an extremely durable nylon fabric that has the same look and feel of cotton. Because of the strength of this fabric, the standard hammock has a much higher load limit, up to 325 pounds. Actually, we can push that a little bit more. Certain aspects of this hammock have been weight tested to over 500 pounds. But being realistic, if you're a backpacker over 260 pounds, this is definitely the hammock that you want to go with. Now the ultralight version, exactly the same hammock, except it is made out of a much lighter material. This is a 30 denier ripstop nylon. Because this is a lighter material, it doesn't have the durability of the Taslin. So the load limit on this hammock is going to be less. Now, I weigh 240 pounds, and I use my ultralight hammock all the time. I love it if I'm wanting to really save a lot of weight. But to be honest, at my weight, the standard hammock conforms to my body a little bit better than the ultralight. The ultralight just wants to stretch out a little bit more under my body weight. But if you're a backpacker, 185 pounds, 190 pounds, 200 pounds, and you want to save weight, the ultralight is definitely the way to go. Now I know there's a lot of ultralight backpackers out there, minimalist, who are counting every ounce in their pack. The ultralight, along with the Sil Nylon Rainfly, we're pushing 2 pounds for the total system. This is definitely the route that you want to go. Now for me personally, because I like the comfort of the standard hammock, what I will do is I will actually cut weight in other gear in my backpack, using a 4-ounce alcohol stove, not taking a lantern with all the gas, instead just using a headlamp or a LED flashlight. There's other ways that I can save weight and still get a good night's sleep. Now, one of the things that all of my clients have told me is all of my hammocks have a sweet spot. This is a spot that once you find, especially if you're a side sleeper, you will sleep like a baby. And I get more testimonials all the time from people who have had a hard time sleeping in a hammock. They crawl into mine and they'll have 7-8 hours of unencumbered sleep. So that's the beauty of my hammock, and I think that's something that you're going to like too. So you deserve a good night's sleep, and thanks for watching.